We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on Isaiah Wynn and Liam Eichenberg versus the Cleveland Browns. They rotated again in this game. They kind of, went like every 2 series, basically. And after last week, this is the first time they did it. I think Isaiah Wynn won that battle, and I think, again, he won this one. He's just clearly the better option than Eichenberg. It's not like he's, playing at like a crazy high level or anything. But he's clearly just the better athlete, plays with more play strength, power, can have more of an impact in the run game and the passing game. He plays a little more urgency with his hands, a little more active with his feet. And like Eichenberg, he can get the job done when like he has a natural leverage advantage. But like when Wynn is getting out leveraged, he can make a play at the point of attack. Eichenberg still has the problems with his balance and stuff like that. Doesn't create as much as a push. Like still has like some positive plays in there. But they just don't like stand out to me like when you look at it from like a traits perspective of him winning those battles. So that means like usually that doesn't mean like such a great thing for the future. And every single one of these guards, Jones, Eichenberg, Wynn, they're all free agents going into this next season. And I imagine they're probably going to re-sign 1 or 2 of them. Not necessarily to start. Like wouldn't mind bringing back Wynn and Jones to be like your depth players. That'd actually be, I think, pretty solid. But you need like 2 new starting guards. But I think Wynn has kind of looked, for not having played in a long time, he's looked like your best guard these past 2 weeks. The athleticism's just there. Like here's a good example of like the difference between him and Eichenberg. Like he's on the backside of this toss play, so it's like basically outside zone backside, and this guy is covering him play side. He's got the natural leverage advantage as a 2-eye, and Wynn's able to just get out of his stance with good explosiveness, get engaged right away, and then gets his hat across him very quickly. He's able to win the leverage advantage. He's also able to reset his hands, keep straining. He sustains it for long enough to fight. So, like, if there was a cutback lane to be hit, Wynn is slowing his guy down long enough. And it feels like when Liam gets these situations, like, you'll see when he has to, like, cut someone off, it's just not as pretty. Like, but if this guy was lined up to the outside shoulder, Eichenberg could do his job. But that's, like, a job that any O-lineman should be able to do. This one, you want your O-lineman to be able to do this, be able to reach them when they're basically a shade over you to the play side of that play. And Wynn does his job. He did it a couple different times in this game. This is another example of it. Guy's in the 2-eye. He's on the backside of a toss play. Good explosiveness off the ball here. He just is a better athlete. Wynn plays with good movement skills. That's kind of my favorite part of his game. And he's just playing with like good hand placement. Like he gets inside the chest. He's able to reset his hands. He's sustaining long enough. He's working well laterally. That's always nice to see. Just definitely some solid reps there. And he can also climb to the next level if necessary. I think, playing next to Brewer makes Brewer's life easier when it comes to like that athleticism combo they can have. And they can also, I think, create more of a push together. Because when he's with Eichenberg, him and Eichenberg struggle to create like a push on those combo blocks. But when also athletic, like you can see it here on the screen game, just cutting off this guy. This guy's a 3 technique to the play side of the screen, and he just cuts him off instantly. Good job getting his hips across, playing with a good base, good knee bend, like not leaning over the top up top. His hands are constantly fighting, a good nuanced hand fighting, just to get his hips across now. So in case like, it doesn't really make an impact on this play, but imagine if H-Hand cut this back, Wynn's in the correct position to cut this guy off, and like he's sustained and held that block for a long time. And it's definitely nice to see. Like Wynn just has an injury history, but I think if you don't, that's why I wouldn't rely on him as a starter. That's why I would love to bring him back as the depth guy. If you just need like a few games out of him in a season, that would be great, because I think he can be just way more serviceable as a backup. Here's a stunt game that happens. Brewer's late to pick it up, but look how Wynn gets engaged quickly. Like once he recognizes this quickly, he helps out inside, and once he sees this guy looping around, Wynn does his best to like get on this guy as quick as possible so Brewer can get off and get the looper. Brewer is a little late to get it. He gets a holding call, but I love how quickly Wynn is able to engage with this guy that crashes down and get his body and hips back across. That's tough to do in that situation, because a lot of times these guys fall off. His hips would get open, but he doesn't allow his hips to get open. Shows some good core strength there. Get his hips back across in the face of it. And, Hundley's able to deliver a ball down the field that actually was completed. Unfortunately, he got called back for holding. Wynn, I think also, he was a big part of the offense last season when it came to like sliding away from him. They would, half slide to the left, or, last year he was left guard, so they would slide to the right, but basically similar here. Slide away from him, and then he gets engaged. He likes being a little aggressive in his jump setting, getting hands on quickly, because he can play with a good base. He's got really good mirror and match skills, I think. As long as his like technique's good and he doesn't like over lunge or anything like that and get too aggressive, like he usually has some pretty good pass protection reps. Can win his one-on-one battles. And that was kind of evident for the most part. Like here's another example: aggressive hands. Love this. Get engaged quickly. Boom. Pass it off to your right tackle. Make life easy on Kendall Lamb, and then get off of it. Look at his feet ability to redirect. Use that momentum off the push and mirror and match. Shield the guy that's trying to loop and create that lane up, on that loop right there. Just very good work, I think. Isaiah Wynn, very active with his hands, plays with more aggressiveness than Eichenberg. Clearly, just a better athlete, better play strength. Like I just don't know how I can even really justify Liam being in there anymore. Like to me, out of the guards, Liam would be the first one. That he would be like the last one on my list if we had to re-sign them. They're all gonna be relatively cheap too. That's why I'm considering them all probably being around the same price range. I would probably bring back Isaiah Wynn and Jones to be backups next year, rather than Liam. I think the Liam experiment is pretty much over. Here's another example of Wynn just picking up these stunts, man. Pass off 51, find the looper very quick, hips to bring it across. Probably could have shielded this a little bit better, but if Hundley was able to step up, if Garrett wasn't winning quickly, like he was able to, wash this guy out of the way. Wynn had a lot of solid reps like that. I believe that's his last one. So here's the Liam Eichenberg play. This is what I'm talking about, right? So I talked about the plays, where you have the natural leverage. It's a toss. This one he is to the play side, the toss here. The other ones where Wynn was on the backside. But he is on a 2-eye, and he has a natural leverage advantage. So he's able to win pretty easily, shield him. This is a solid rep from Eichenberg. But this is a rep as a guard. You have to win if they're giving that to you. It makes life way easier on you. But when he got put in a position where he didn't have the leverage advantage, like here, he's on the play side. This guy's a 3 tech now, not a 2-eye on the backside of him. So he has to reach him now. And now Eichenberg tries to explode off the ball. But since he's not quite the athlete there, he's off balance. He's not in a good position. His hands aren't there. And he loses his feet because balance is such an important athletic trait. And I think that's one of Eichenberg's weakest traits as a player is balance. And he just gets knocked, put to the ground. Mostert pretty much has nowhere to go to work off of that. And that's just kind of, and I'm not saying every rep is like this. I don't, just want to point out the plays where he falls down. I know that's what a lot of people do. Every rep is not like that. But it happens too often at this point in his career. It's just too much of a liability and that stuff. And even the gap scheme stuff. They asked him to work some gap scheme where he down blocks. He even gets some help here from Lamb. But look at him try to create this push on 94, who's a pretty good player. I believe that's Tomlinson. He just doesn't create any displacement at the point of attack. He gets pushed back even a little bit, and Mostert basically runs right into the back of Liam Eichenberg. Just very tough to create any movement or displacement, I think, from Eichenberg. That play strength isn't there. He did a good job one-on-one in the pass protection stuff here, similarly to Wynn in this game. Got engaged, stayed with good feet, good base. But you can still see the difference in athleticism when Wynn does it, because it just looks so comfortable and his feet are better. And he's just more of a natural mover. Even though they both had the same outcome, they both won their rep, didn't really allow any movement in the pocket. It's just when you look at it from a perspective who would be more successful down the line, and you try to project that, I would feel more comfortable with Wynn in those situations. But here, working a double team, like I talked about, working a double team with Brewer, they created no movement here on 94, just none, no movement up front. Them trying to work some duo stuff going on. There's nothing at all at the point of attack. Eichenberg actually ends up getting pushed back. It's just that is kind of my biggest problem. I want some road graders next year. I think if you continue with what your tackles got, you get Austin Jackson back, that obviously helps a lot. But if you get some guards in there that want to just bully people, they don't have to be the greatest in pass protection. Some bully people, and then you have Brewer with his athleticism on space, and then you have whoever the left tackle would be, whether it's Armstead or he leaves and it's Paul. You I think would have a lot more physicality up front, which I think would help the running game out. And I think the running game improving helps out the entire offense as a whole. It makes life easier on the quarterback, which would then make life easier on the receivers, and bringing in tight ends would also be huge. Here's Eichenberg in pass protection, and you can just see just doesn't have quite the anchor. This guy tries to dip underneath and then uses almost like a hump, was trying to attempt a hump move, but just look at the push that he creates. Even though we're literally having his hands on Eichenberg into his chest, he's still creating push, kind of forced Huntley to move off his spot. It's just not perfect work, and it's an offensive line problem as a whole. You really look at this group, it's not super impressive. The only one who's really played good all year out of this group is Brewer. Like Lamb's a solid backup. Paul is a young rookie and who had a tough game, and there's promise there. But man, it's overall you would like to see some better play across the board from your offensive line group. And I think a big reason, like I've said, like the offensive line maybe isn't as big of an issue as maybe the fans say, is literally just because of scheme and how quickly Tua gets rid of the ball. So like it's not as big a problem in pass protection, really, because they don't give up a ton of sacks or pressures just because they get rid of the ball so quickly, and the scheme and how they use play action to slow down pass rushing. But I think it just clearly needs an improvement as the running game. So when I mean Eichenberg here actually, this is a good job redirecting to the inside. Like guy tries to cross his face. He actually does a good job with his feet redirecting, get this guy out of the way. He does end up on the ground again, which is kind of funny, but he did at least do his job. Allowed Huntley to step up, drop it down for a dump off there. But yeah, I still feel like Isaiah Wynn just looks like the better option, more of my type of player. Eichenberg on the ground, not enough play strength, not enough power. I think it's time to move on from that personally. Like, if they brought him back and it was to be like a backup, that's fine. But, like, you cannot roll with, honestly, any of these guys as starters in next year. You can't trust that. Like, if that's what ends up happening and like, say a Wynn has to start at one of the guard spots, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just I think you need to go into next season trying to get two completely new guards starting, and you can have the other guys come in and compete potentially with one of them, but you need at least one stud for sure added to the group. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Yeah.